Hello, Scott.
Oh, I'm right here. How are you doing?
There you are. What's going on?
Just back to normal decor in the Havens household. So no holidays coming up. How are you doing?
You don't decorate for St. Patrick's Day?
No, not really. I actually blocked it off Julie and I's calendar. We no one's pregnant, so no kids coming, so we could have a little date day. What about you?
Ooh. Well, we close on our new house the day before, so I imagine it's going to be moving. Not the fun part, but getting to the fun part.
Yeah, cracking like a beer for a sip and then getting back to work.
Right. Have you been outside today?
Yes, I have been. I've been out and about doing meetings. Saw Josh Levin at Empowered Electric, brought some food over there for him and his associates. What about yourself?
I haven't had a chance to go outside today. I had 6 meetings earlier, but yesterday I went and spent a lot. So I promised my kids we would go on a walk because it's so gorgeous. It doesn't even feel the same. You know, one of our guests today, she actually currently lives in Dallas. So we've got to ask her what it's been like down there.
Oh,
After
yeah.
that,
No,
it was so crazy.
Super interesting. I completely agree.
So, okay, well, guess what? I do want to talk about something. First of all, on Monday morning, it was Mentoring Monday, which was amazing. And Wendy Reynolds, who's the CEO of Bank of Blue Valley, she spoke at it, and she blows me away every time she speaks.
I forget she's the CEO of a really big company. I'm always like, why are you so good? And everyone's like, oh, that makes sense.
So good. 400 women, mentees showed up, and it was a fabulous event. Sarah over at the Business Journal did wonderful. Virtual. 400
yes.
virtual.
I've heard from multiple people the feedback went really well. I know that Stacy Prosser and Sarah Ventola are perfectionists at the Business Journal, but I've heard from multiple sources it was the biggest event that was the most well-run that they've been a part of. And it's no easy feat getting 400 people out into breakout rooms. So kudos to the Business Journal, who are really good friends of the show, and kudos, obviously, to Wendy. And we always got to thank Sean and Felicia, who sent us some information recently, who are our partners on the show.
So I'm actually going to put it in the comments on both Facebook and over on LinkedIn. By the way, if you are watching, tell us hello, say hi. Let us know if you're watching from LinkedIn or on Facebook and tell us who you're excited to see. But essentially, Bank of Blue Valley is starting to put on these amazing events for business owners. This one is, if you are thinking about selling your business one day, it's for that succession planning. It's a webinar. So make sure you go and register it. It's March 3rd. And so we'll have it in the comments so you can go check it out. But it looks really cool. I'm going to sign up for it. And I don't know anything about what happens if I want to retire one day. So I'm going to go check this out.
Yeah, 60% of all middle market companies in Kansas City are privately held, which typically means a family type business. So when you want a succession plan, oftentimes you don't need to come up with 10 million, 20 million. There's a way to work with a financial structure to buy it out or earn it out over time. And Bank of Blue Valley does a wonderful job. And people just don't realize that they're a large national brand and one of the top 5 banks in Kansas City. So something to think about if you own a business and you're just trying to figure out financially how you're going to keep it rolling or explore the what ifs.
Well, we're very excited. We'll make sure that's in the comments so you guys can get. But I want to get to our panel today.
Exactly on time, 5 minutes in. We told them they should text message if they had anything coming up. But when that music hits, I'm ready to roll, Aaron.
Okay, listen. I don't know what this is going to sound like, but we're going to do our best, okay?
It's got to be better than my Disney music that I play.
It's about the same. Let me change.
Ooh, well, we are going first name. Coming up, ladies first, Shelli.
Hi, guys.
Number 2, Kristan.
Hey, everyone.
And from Dallas, Shannon.
Hey, guys.
And the gentleman with the best view in the house, Rick.
How we doing?
Listen, I don't know if that was better than your Disney. It was called Hard Hip Hop Beats, instrumental beats, and it was all these great rap songs, but I think they're better with the words. So
we got in a little trouble. People actually, watch this show, and so Facebook, when we play music with lyrics, will let us know that that's a no-no. So we've had to switch to instrumental, and DJing instrumental, if you don't pre-screen it, is always interesting. It's such a hard gig. I'm glad I'm not a real DJ. I'd be terrible. All right, well, let's get started again. Say hello. I don't know. It says that people are watching, but I think that people are watching on their patios, and so they're so into it because it's so pretty out today. So let's get started. Shelli, who are you? What do you do, and how did you get here?
So my name is Veatch-Jaye, and I am the Senior Director for the Go Red for Women movement with the American Heart Association. So how I got to Kansas City was I was born and raised here. So that's kind of my history here in Kansas City. I actually started out as a teacher. I got my elementary education degree and somehow ended up in the nonprofit world. I traded one bad paycheck for another one. So it is what it is. But I started out teaching. I stayed home with my kids for 12 years and kind of drowned myself in the nonprofit world, just volunteering and things. And then I just happened to end up here at the American Heart Association about 18 months ago.
So when you talk about your event compared to other events, is it considered a top 5 overall or top 10 in terms of money raised? I mean, I think we forget that the number 1 employer in Kansas City is the government, and the number 2 is the non-for-profit sector. So I think it's intriguing how successful your organization is. So give everyone a kind of an idea of the size and scope.
Yep. So our the Go Red for Women event is actually the largest that we have in the Overland Park office within our local market. We raise typically on a normal non-pandemic year, we will raise about $1.2 million. We will have about 1,100 women and men in the room as well. Yes, Scott will be there this year too. But it's definitely we almost always get the top 10, one of the top 10 events in Kansas City from the Independent. So it's
when I get technical, when you read the Independent magazine and they get into the top fundraisers, some of the Catholic schools go under there, but they're not technically the event. So Shelli's responsible for one of the top 5 events all year that Kansas City sees, and so it's really impactful.
It's a pretty iconic event. I had a friend reach out to me about this position about, it's almost 2 years ago now. And she's like, okay, I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you about this. And I'm like, okay, what's it for? I'm not going to be like, your admin. What do you need? And when she said Go Red for Women, I was like, sold. I'm done. Okay, take me in.
I'm in. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
What is this, Scott? What are you doing?
Check. I'm in.
Check. Okay.
I'm in.
I'm trying to keep up.
Yeah, I got to get the facial stuff going. Got to pretend like it's live.
It is live. We are live.
It's live?
It is. Right? Kristan, who are you? What are you doing? How'd you get here?
Hello, everyone. I am the HR director for Dynamic Logistics here in Overland Park. I say small, but small in people size, but large business. So I've only been here about 2 months and loving every single minute of it. I got to Kansas City via KU, was a KU grad, Rock Chalk, and then got married right after college and moved up here. So I started working in HR for an infectious disease laboratory, and I've kind of just worked my HR/recruiting career for the last, 10, 15 years. Took a few years off to have 4 babies. And
Shannon and I are like,
Yeah, the pandemic was hard on all of us. Let's just say it was a lot of time together at home. So when this position came available and Jeff Oslander, the CEO, reached out to me about it, I was like, yes, please let me come back to an office. Get me out of my home office.
And then Kristan, give everyone kind of the size and scope of your company. Where are you located? How many employees do you have? And what is a problem that you solve for your clients?
Yeah, so we were in Overland Park, Kansas here, right off of Metcalf, actually getting ready to move into a new building here in a few months once it's ready. So very exciting. We have about, 80 employees almost, roughly. Large organization, volume-wise, we're actually, we won Inc.'s Best Place to Work last year. So very, very exciting. What we do for our clients is we help give them visibility to their freight, to their shipments. So like last week with the snowstorm, our clients could see where their shipments were, where they were delayed, what the holdup was. So we really just help them get everything from point A to point B in a very visible fashion, which a lot of companies aren't used to that.
Yeah, and then one thing is, you guys do a process that usually took 90 days, and you boil it down to something shorter than a week for a large transportation management system. So you deal with some of the biggest, people that are moving or manufacturing products in the country. But also one quick thing before we jump over to Shannon is weren't you guys just recently, the last 2 or 3 years, rated as the fastest growing company or one of the fastest growing companies in Kansas City?
We were, one of the fastest growing companies. We're actually made it onto the Inc. 5000 last year, and we were number 5 for logistics. So huge things happening here at DLX. Loving every minute of it. It's fast paced, but great place to work.
Where are you originally from?
I am originally from Salina.
Oh, okay. Went to state basketball there in high school, so I know all about it.
Oh, okay.
I'm a cougar.
Shannon, who are you? What do you do? And how did you get here?
Aaron, thanks for having me on the show today. Scott, great to see you. And Kristan, love your story. Can you help me find my shipments that are currently lost among some of the other providers? And Shelli,
I wish I could help the USPS.
And Shelli, it's nice to meet you.
You too.
So hi, I'm so excited to be on the show. My name is Shannon McKain. I am born and raised in Kansas City, Missouri, on the Missouri side, but have actually recently been in Dallas, Texas for the last 3 years. And I love it down here, but Kansas City will always be home.
So you had a crazy week last week.
Ooh, where do I begin? I mean, how much time do you have? Yes, it was really crazy across the entire state of Texas last week.
And tell us a little bit about that, but also tell us what you do, because you kind of skipped over that. But
yeah,
I found it interesting that kind of your worlds collided last week because you became such a big voice with your following and stuff.
Oh, golly. Well, thanks for mentioning that, because it was something I was really passionate about. So yeah, let me bring all the viewers up to speed. So I have worked as a motivational speaker and a consultant for, drum roll please, I'm now celebrating 10 years of being on my own and being in business for myself. And so it has been a really incredible decade. And so, yeah, as you mentioned, I have a couple of social issues that I'm really passionate about. And I really don't talk a lot about politics on my social media. I like to keep things kind of motivational, inspirational, fun, lighthearted. But what happened in Texas last week was really incredibly tough on quite a few Texans. And so it made me think harder about the role that our government plays in our everyday lives, the role that municipalities and utility companies play in our everyday lives. And ultimately, what's the responsibility for all of us as just human beings and citizens to really help each other out in moments of crisis like that. So yeah, I got a little passionate about it on my social media.
And then, did you know, so I lived for a decade in Texas, but I had no idea the grid was it was its own thing. Did you know that before last week?
Absolutely not. There's so much about Texas that I did not know prior to these last 3 years. And last week really opened my eyes that when people joke about the state of Texas being its own country, it literally, I think, almost is its own country. They have done, the local government here or the state government here has literally done a pretty interesting job of separating themselves from the rest of the United States of America. So that's been really interesting to unpack over the last few days.
Okay, and then one more quick question, because when people call themselves, not everybody, but a lot of people call themselves motivational speakers, but there's kind of that threshold of once you're actually a really good, that's when you do a TED Talk. Can you tell us a little bit about the TED Talk that you did?
Yeah, I had an awesome opportunity to do a TEDx. Golly, it's been about 4 or 5 years ago now. It was I feel like so long ago. So the TEDx that I did was really talking about this idea of connection versus connecting. And it all stemmed from a leadership project that I did where I was studying 4 pillars of leadership over the course of 3 years. And as a result of that, when we got to the pillar of leadership, or we talked about situational leadership, literally our instructor said to us, hey, look, we can't teach you situational leadership in the comfort of your home. We have to get you out of your element and into the elements to really see how well you can lead. Well, I, with my millennial chip on my shoulder was like, I can handle anything that you throw my direction, until they said, we have signed you up for a 2-week excursion of living on a canoe in the Florida Everglades. And you have one task and one task only. That is that you have to get from point A to point B safely over the course of those 2 weeks, which turned out to be 110 miles. Now, the interesting thing about this project was that I actually took the trip twice. I went once roughly around the year 2002, and then I went back a second time. I know, I'm actually really crazy. I went back, elected to go back a second time about a decade later. And what I discovered in the difference of that decade was how well we were able to communicate as a group the first time back around 2002 versus how not as great we were able to communicate the second time about a decade later. And so I really started to study how social media, technology, virtual interactions are kind of breaking down our ability to really truly understand one another, and how does that impact our lives personally, professionally, in the workplace, etc.
I wonder what it would be like now.
I know, right? We should.
You're gonna have to find someone else.
Should we take this? No. Aaron, you're coming with me. We should take this panel and go next year.
That's like, no, don't agree with that.
I like tobacco products and a koozie necklace and a fanny pack and a cooler of Jello shots, and it's only a 2-mile float that you can do by not paddling.
Well, and actually, Scott, I asked the question, can I bring Google Maps and Spotify with me, to help us navigate and enjoy our time? Turns out those requests were denied as well.
That's heavy.
Well, we're excited to learn more. Thank you so much for joining us from Texas. I'm glad we asked you this week and not last week, so that you could be here. Rick, who are you? What do you do? And how do you get here? And you switched positions on us. You switched places.
I did switch positions. I apologize. Can you hear me okay? Because I had to switch. Yes. I was on club internet, and apparently our tournament internet is much faster. So I quickly ran. So I apologize. I am now inside like the rest of you, I guess. I was inside. So my name is Rick Amos. I am originally from Iowa. I am one of the Iowa transplants of many here in this area. I've been here, 25 years probably. I came via a small little computer company that existed and probably closed before most of you on this call were born, called Gateway Computers. If you remember the cow-spotted boxes, a lot to do with logistics, obviously. But I ended up in the sports world working for the Royals in the year 2000. It's taking me via the Royals, Sporting Kansas City, IMG Learfield at the University of Kansas, and now as a part of the PGA Tour with a company out of Alabama called the Bruno Event Team, who specializes in managing events. Specifically, I'm in the golf division. And Previously, until about 2 weeks ago, we had a different name, and we recently signed a new title sponsor for our professional PGA Tour sanctioned event here in Kansas City called Advent Health. So we are now partners with Advent Health, and we are now the Advent Health Championship. So it's been a very crazy few months in COVID to secure a partnership like that. You've got to have the right partner and the right company, the right team of people, the right mindset, and it's really worked out well for us. So this timing, actually, when Scott asked about doing this, I'm like, hey, this would be good because this announcement's coming out. So I'm honored to be here. That's a tough act to follow of the 3 individuals you had before me, all very impressive resumes, but I'm here to try and hold my own right now.
And so when we think of the Big 12 tournament, when we think of the World Series or the NFL playoffs, we also want people thinking about what you're doing. So kind of give us a little bit of that journey from where you started, where you are today, because Advent Health is a huge sponsor. And I mean, it's got to be a ton of weight off your shoulders because
Sure.
you've connected 2 amazing brands together.
Yeah, so it's a lot of weight off the shoulders, but it also throws a tremendous amount of weight on the shoulders, right? So this tournament this will be the 11th year of the tournament. Last year was canceled, technically our 10th tournament, but technically 11 years. This started as a Christmas October event, became Midwest Classic, became the Digital Ally Open for a while. Actually was in the same office space that Kristan is setting in now. We used to be in that building where Dynamic is right now. So, and then we came under the umbrella of Bruno Event Team. Our goal has been to make this a cornerstone Kansas City event. So in 2018, when we rebranded to become the KC Golf Classic, we're trying to become, we're perceived pretty much as as another charity golf tournament. And we're much bigger than. We are a professional golf tournament that just happens to benefit charity. And we have a week long of events with hospitality and pro-am experiences and all kinds of unique things that businesses use to entertain clients, much like all the other people in town. So by signing this deal with Advent Health, we will benefit the Advent Health Foundation and the B.E. Smith Center, which is a tremendous, tremendous facility if you haven't been there. But we also have a Birdies for Charity program, and we benefit a lot of 501c3s. But moving forward, the Advent Health Foundation will be one of our primary beneficiaries. So yes, this is huge, but it also comes with a tremendous amount of responsibility as well.
It's funny you talk about being in Kristan's building. 4 or 5 years ago, or really maybe it was like 6 years ago, I would just find an excuse to go to it was under a different company name before Dynamic Logistics. Yep. And I knew that all the Compass Capital folks that were big sponsors of the tournament were there. And so I would just go to the front desk. I'd be like, yeah, I'm here to pick up 2 passes for Thursday. And people just they just give them to you. But I was broke and I didn't have any money. And I was like, how do I get into these private tents with all these people? And so I've always promised Rick. It was funny, it was 3 years ago. It was the first time I paid full price. I felt horrible. And Rick would always see me and be like, hey, Vince, how'd you get free tickets again? And so I will never, ever take a free ticket again, because when you buy a ticket, you're really supporting Kansas City as a whole and also a lot of other good organizations. So congratulations. That's such a huge, huge opportunity. How did the announcement go?
So the announcement went good, as with everything in the last year, significantly probably different than it would have been because it was all done virtually, something we've all became too familiar with in the last almost 12 months now, I guess. So in the last year, but it went good. We had good media participation. We've had great response from not only the city, but companies in the city, but also vendors and partners of Advent Health and groups and people that they support, reaching out to how can they get involved, how can they help. So we're doing really well, and we're very happy. I can't go without mentioning, you talk about Compass Capital. We wouldn't be where we are today without the support of the leadership and ownership of Compass Capital. They brought this tournament along for several years and are still supporters today. So, and as a matter of fact, I got an invoice I need to send over to Kristan now anyway. So
that's awesome. Well, it's kind of cool to have 2 of the biggest events of the year on this show, and so it's kind of cool to feel very Kansas City-esque. And I guess by working with you both, we're really touching tens of thousands of people. So kind of cool. And also we're getting on really good timing for the midway part of the show. So Aaron, what are you thinking? Do we go a little early with the Wendy Reynolds question, or what are you thinking?
We can do that. You know what? I think actually because we've kind of dug into this a little bit, this is a good question to pop in right now. And then we'll talk about what the biggest wins have been afterwards. Okay, so we're going to bring on Wendy Reynolds, the CEO of Bank of Blue Valley.
What have been the biggest challenges you've had to overcome?
Start with you, Shelli.
So I just want to start off by saying that, Rick, our presenting sponsor for Go Red for Women is also Advent Health, Shawnee Mission specifically. So they're fantastic to work with. I'm so glad that you were able to land that and get their backing and their support. So
I'm sure we'll be working together.
Hopefully so. So anyway, congratulations on that. I know how those wins feel. So my biggest challenge that I've had to overcome, so many personally and so many professionally, I feel like. I think probably some of my biggest ones are just when I decided to quit teaching, stay home with my kids, and then guess what? Going through a divorce and need to go back and need to find a job. And so I think just trying to find something that I was passionate about and that I really, really loved, as much as staying home with my kids most days. We all know how that is.
It's good the first 48 hours.
So true.
Not month 3 or 4.
Yeah, no, I just had 2 who are teenagers. This is the one time during a pandemic where I'm so thankful I have teenagers. So anyway, so I think just trying to get out there and find out what it is that I really wanted to do with my life, and try to figure out that next plan for me and my family, for that matter. And so I was lucky. Someone took a chance on me. I had a huge resume full of nonprofit volunteer experience over the course of about 12 years. And so someone took a chance on me. I started out where I actually helped start Holiday Boutique back in 2011, the huge holiday shopping event. So I worked for a little mom and pop. They were husband and wife business owners, and they were fantastic to work for. But then they got bought out by the largest home and garden show producer in the country. And so I was like, I am not corporate America material. So then someone just, like I said, took a risk on me in the nonprofit world and said, here, come raise some money and plan some events for us. And so I went to work at Oz&Am, which is part of Cornerstones of Care. And then a couple of years later, a better position came along for special events. I was the director of special events at the Children's Place down in Brookside. And then this job came along, which is even, another step up the ladder for senior director. So once I kind of found that path that I wanted to take, it really everything's kind of been smooth sailing since then. I've been pretty lucky.
We had our teenager talk before this started. So.
Yeah.
So we both already vented to each other. So I'm going to skip that part of your piece, but just in case Mike can hear me. Kristan, what is one of the biggest challenges that you've had to and are any of your kids teenagers yet? You look young.
2 of them.
Okay,
so I have 2 teenagers and 2 younger ones. And so honestly, like that has to do with part of my biggest challenge is learning how to be a working mom. And realizing, I think the hardest thing for me was realizing I don't think there is such a thing as work-life balance. I think we have seasons where we focus more time on our kids, which I did. I took time off from my career and focused on them. And then I have seasons where work's going to be really busy and I have to be head down, even, sometimes in the evening. So realizing that there is no work-life balance. It's seasonal. But really finding something that I loved and was passionate about and was okay to, maybe miss out on a few things kid-wise sometimes. But I'm very fortunate for where I've landed here at Dynamic Logistics, because we do truly promote probably a work-life balance more than most places, starting from the top down. I mean, they don't miss kids' events or games. And so, but I think just feeling like, as a mom or dad, working and having kids in all these activities and technology is really how do we navigate our time and organizing that so that we can be all things to all people, right?
We have a former guest, Haley Walsh. She owns City Gym over in Brookside, and she has a great keynote that's called, I can't say the whole thing, but it's Balance is Bull. You know the rest of it because we're on LinkedIn Live and I can't get this taken away. But where she really says that, yeah, you got to figure out your season. So I'll try to find it online and send it to you, but it's a great
I would love that.
Shannon, how about you? I know that your job was to travel and to speak. So what's been the biggest challenge?
You're absolutely right. When you build a business solely off of one stream of income as a motivational speaker, and you are literally hired paycheck to paycheck to go and work either association events or for companies. And I came home, my last event was March 10th of 2020 in Las Vegas. I came home that evening and the entire country shut down on March 12th, and everything on my calendar for the rest of the year went poof. So that was an interesting challenge to try to face and overcome.
How'd you do it? How'd you get through it?
Yeah, like, so when
You can't just stop there.
pivot. Yeah, you got to pivot because I mean you had to have been doing it or doing a lot of virtual. So what do you see sticking with you in the next 6 to 12 months? How do you see that evolving?
Yeah, so I am really lucky that before I jumped into business for myself, I did work in corporate America for a number of years, and I did have the skills necessary to really be able to do consulting and coaching work for a lot of companies and businesses. I've had the opportunity in the last decade to work for some really notable companies: Fidelity Investments, Tesla, Rubbermaid. MIT has hired me 3 times, and so with all of that, and especially with a lot of the leadership training and research that I've had the opportunity to really come in and make a much better impact on companies and organizations outside of just providing entertaining keynotes for them. And so it has forced me to pivot my business into a little bit of a different direction, but ultimately it's been an incredible direction because I do get to make a much stronger impact now.
Well, I've been watching over here. You did an amazing job. So
Thank you.
Your biggest challenge might have been your biggest skill set too, right? Rick, how about you?
So I'm going to combine probably a little bit of work, a little bit of personal, and a little bit of passion into my biggest challenge. And it's actually been the last, I'm trying to think here. Now it's been 14 months. And I decided about 2 years ago it was going to be a really smart idea because I love the school district that my kids have all left. I have 23, 21, and 19-year-olds. So I love the school district that I live in. And so I decided that it would be this grandeur idea to become a school board member. And so I joined the school board in January. March hit, and that is the rest of my outside of work life in the last 12 months. It has been a very rewarding experience. It has been very challenging. It has been very, it's been very hard. If you guys think about it, there are 42 people in Johnson County that are volunteers on the school boards of our 6 major districts. And we are making decisions as volunteers based on so many criteria, so many things that can be interpreted so many different ways. But yeah, we're making decisions for hundreds of thousands of students and people and families. So that most recently, obviously I've had a lot of challenges, but that is the one that certainly weighs the most right now, over above keeping a golf tournament going and working with my boss and coworkers to keep it going for 6 years. Being a school board member in the last 14 months pretty much takes the top of the cake.
So you're who we call. Now we know.
Yeah, pretty much. I prefer if you're in Blue Valley or Olathe or Shawnee Mission or Spring Hill, you call them and not me. But if you're in the DeSoto School District, go ahead, email me, call me. It's fine.
Yeah, it's got to be really hard, Rick. I was Friday. I was at lunch with the editor of the Business Journal, Stacy Prosser, and then Amy Teisling, the CFO of Demdeco, who's now the president of the school board for Blue Valley.
Sure.
And we didn't get a chance. Amy was, I think, just on the board and then became another position, which yep. I'm like, I'm like, you must really like punishment, but it's so hard because you're dealing with safety and people are calling into question your integrity, your character, and you're serving to help others. And yep. So it has to be incredibly hard. So how was that first initial month or week or weeks? And then when did you get over it and you're like, oh my gosh, these people are nuts? And I can say that, you can't say that, but it's like, how did you get over that? Because they're really calling you out, and you're just a volunteer.
So I'm still not over it, first of all. So really it all, when it first hit, it was just kind of, this is going to happen the rest of the school year, and life will be back to normal come September when we go back to school, right? That didn't happen. So in August, when we had our big meeting, which was maybe one of the toughest meetings, and just did not go like any of the board members wanted it to go. That was probably the biggest challenge. And then just trying to, you spend a lot of time trying to understand the data and hoping for the right trends and encouraging people to do the right things. And, we're still not over it, but we've been very fortunate in our district. I think we've done a good job of taking the right steps at the right times. We were the first Johnson County district to go back with all classes. We started, I can't remember now. It's all running together, but early February, we went back full time with all grades. We've had some quarantines and that type of stuff, but we're still there. And so from that aspect, it's tough because you hear from, it's a very divided issue. You look at our political elections and we're a 50-50 split. I made the mistake once of comparing it to our district was divided 50-50. And those of you that are in communications and public speaking, that's not something you do, because they take that literally and they think I'm counting emails, and I'm not doing that. But when you read one email, it's like a tennis match going back and forth, right? So, we've still got a long ways to go, is just, a world, for a lack of better terms, and especially a nation, to getting back to where we want to be. But I feel like we've got kids back in the classroom, and even though they're back in the classroom, it's still not the same. I think people kind of thought they'd go back to the classroom and everything's back to normal. It's not. Things are still different, and they're going to be different probably into next school year, sadly to say. So it's Scott, I don't think we're good there yet, but to the point where I finally put myself in a position where I said, there could be, you take a lot of criticism, but there could be a lot worse people sitting in the position I'm in. So I feel like I'm there for the right reason.
How long is your term with them?
4 years.
Start of the pandemic. It's easy.
So you'll make it through this.
So anyway, my boss is sitting over here saying, you're supposed to be talking about the golf tournament and stuff like that, and you're talking about school board. I mean, come on, right?
Think it over your life.
Right.
Ash says, bless you, Rick. Wow, what a commitment you have made to all of our children during a pandemic. Many thanks. And I think a lot of people would echo that. So on those tough days, you just pull up Ash's comment.
That was not meant to be a self-promotion of me being on the school board, but that is certainly one of the biggest challenges I've ever faced in my life.
No, it's something really important, and is when, the more that people can view this show or can learn about other opportunities, when they're at a table for Go Red and they're checking people in, or they're helping people around the golf course, those are volunteers that are helping out of the goodness of their heart, and just trying to promote a really good organization to help the community. And so I didn't really realize a lot of that till I was in the Centurions leadership program. And I had no idea until I was at the dinner table checking in name tags. I didn't realize that volunteers are responsible for all of that. And I'm really happy with this pandemic that people that have volunteered at hospitals are now being some of the first to be vaccinated. So it's kind of like karma coming full circle, where those that wanted to help others are getting helped out. So, Rick, I think it's, if it's 4 years into it, that you're definitely you've already reached the top of the mountain. It's going to be downhill, because nothing can be more uphill than what you've already done.
Scott, I'll jump in real quick and I'll say, when I worked for the Royals, 1 year I made the mistake of saying, there's no way we could be worse next year than we were this year. And we lost, and we went from 102 losses to like 106. So I'm careful not to make statements like that. So I'm glad you said it, not me.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to jump over here to comments really quick. Miss Deborah, who was on the show a few weeks ago, says, hello, Deborah. David he'll go on the canoe trip with you, Shannon. He's in.
David, let's do it.
He was in the Army for a long time, so he'll be good on your
team. He's a retired brigadier general, so he actually oversaw 20,000 people before he retired.
David maybe does not want to go with me then. I do not have that kind of leadership credential. I cheered in the NFL. So if you're willing to let me bring my hairspray and all the things that I need, then we'll talk.
Yeah, Shannon was a Chiefs cheerleader. Jennifer, she says, "Happy Drinks with Leaders Day." Such a great handle. And she was actually on our very first show ever. And she continues to show up every week. So I actually have and I have this one comment. Does anybody know what this means? I feel like this might be an inside joke, so I don't want to not show it. Or his kid got his phone. Those are my two options here. Does anyone know?
It was the Gateway.
I think that's a referral to Gateway.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get up a little later.
The cow box.
Got it.
Thank you, Ryan. Okay, I was like, I don't know what's going on over here. So, okay, well, David actually asked a great question. I want to pivot over to this question here, and we'll just go back around. But I'm interested in your answers. Shelli, what percentage of this COVID-related virtual world do you believe will endure beyond just this year?
I think there's so many different aspects of it. And I think that all of them, I think the virtual world is going to stick around for quite a while. I know I've already been told by my daughter's school district, virtual school is not going anywhere. We have the opportunity, even still next year and beyond, to enroll her in the virtual remote learning. So now Event World, I hope it ends right away. I don't want to see it anymore. We were one of the first events within the American Heart Association, the Go Red for Women last year, to move to a digital platform. And it's funny because our original date was in May, and we said, oh, we'll just move it out a month or so. This will all be over by then. So we rescheduled with the Overland Park Convention Center for June 17th, and thought we're gonna trudge ahead, and we're gonna get all of our ducks in a row to just move the date. And we didn't. As a science-based leader, health leader in the community, we really just couldn't do that, obviously. So everyone knows we're, still not in a position really to be holding, in-person events of 1,100 people at this very moment in time. So, I think that's probably also been a challenge for me too, though, is just trying to find donors in this digital platform. It's really hard. So for us to just get creative and have to be able to find new activations and things for them to be able to make them feel like they're still doing good in the community, but at the same time, helping them get the exposure that a lot of sponsors really look for is kind of difficult. But I don't think the virtual world is going anywhere. I'll tell you, I have a competitive volleyball player daughter who we travel for tournaments, and we went to Wichita. They would only let so many spectators in. We were having to stream the volleyball games to all the other parents who weren't allowed to attend. And so we've had to, I hate the word now, pivot in every aspect. I feel, I just feel like it's just not going anywhere. And I got to tell you, after that volleyball weekend out of town, it was a one-night stay, one-day tournament where normally there are 3. I came home exhausted from talking to people all weekend long. I was like, I'm so tired.
It's a lot of work to put a full outfit on and makeup these days.
Right? Well, and I'm an extrovert too. Like, this is my thing of talking to people. And it was like, God, I had to put on makeup 2 days in a row, and I had to get dressed and wear pants 2 days in a row. I mean, it was a lot.
I call them pants days now. So I had a pants day, and then I got to get all comfortable for the show. But it's a big day when you put on pants.
You better be careful. Somebody might think your alternative is a skirt. So, I mean,
yeah. Well, Kristan and I had a pants day the other day.
You should have a skirt day too.
But yeah, we dressed up, and then we looked like we were going into an office.
Yeah, real people. Nice.
All right. How about Kristan? What percentage of this COVID-related virtual world do you believe will endure beyond 2021?
So I'm kind of in the same boat. One, I hope it doesn't. As a people person, I miss connection with people. Like that is huge for me, which is why I was so excited to come back into an office. But from a hiring perspective and an HR perspective, I think virtual work from home, I think we're going to continue to see it. I think some companies are going to move completely that direction. As I'm already seeing, like that work from home, people are really liking it. Companies are seeing the benefits of it. They're seeing that people are still productive, even at home, even more so in some people's cases. So I do think from that piece that it's going to stick around forever in some capacity. That work from home, people, like you said, people like wearing sweatpants to work every day. I know when I got this job and had to start wearing like actual pants, it was a struggle.
Lots of pants days. Lots of pants.
I have pants days every day. No more yoga pants.
Yeah, and by the way, we're clarifying pants day mean non-sweatpants is all we're saying.
Non-sweatpants. Yes.
Or stretch pants.
No elastic waistbands.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
Well, now I feel like you realize it's a sacrifice to put the pants on for a paycheck. What?
Yeah. Well, if you're chubby like I am, I still do elastic dress pants, but you know what I mean.
Shannon, what part do you think will continue to go into next year?
Yeah, well, there's kind of two schools of thought in the motivational speaking world. The first school of thought is that when the pandemic first hit the United States, we immediately saw very large global companies make an immediate swift decision that they were canceling any in-person events and or any in-person working until 2022. And so that was kind of the writing on the wall for us initially, because those global leaders knew something ahead of everybody else. And so there was kind of that one piece of the puzzle that we were thinking of. And then as both Shelli and Kristan mentioned, that we also have seen another piece to the puzzle where there's higher productivity, because when you start to eliminate those having to drive to an office commute, whether that's 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, hour and a half, in New York City or San Francisco, sometimes an hour and a half, 2 hours. When you eliminate some of those time wasters, then we're starting to see employees have skyrocketing productivity once we get over the hurdle of managing our children, our pets, our goldfish, whatever. So there's that piece of the puzzle. The other piece of the puzzle that we've talked about in depth here recently is that as soon as we get over this 11th hour of everybody kind of getting the vaccine and we get it under control across the country, that there's going to be a huge explosion of really grandiose events that just kind of like flood the marketplace, because people are dying to have in-person connection, hugs. Maybe, I don't know if handshakes are ever going to make a comeback, but just like having that kind of in-person touch and feel that we really need, the human connection. And so if I have to put a percentage on it to answer David's question, I guess I'm going to say 50-50. I'm going to say 50%. We're going to see virtual continue to heed the path. And then we're going to see 50% really kind of explode when we get the chance.
Have you seen the meme that says, "I now understand why the Roaring 20s, why they're partying so hard in all the Roaring 20s pictures"? I kind of feel like it's going to be like that.
Yeah, and it's not going to just be like, we're going to have, we're going to resume monthly networking events. We're going to see like big, all-out destination events and parties kind of across the board.
Which is that makes you a good space to be in.
If I can get there, stay employed until we get there.
Stay motivational until then. No, you're doing a great job. And you've actually, a lot of people in Shannon's position have done a really good job of using this time to grow their brands for when they're there. You get to really take advantage of it then.
Well, yeah. And some of the folks in Kansas City might know that I had a regular TV segment for 3 years on Better Kansas City. I mean, I was on the show once a month for 3 years. And since the pandemic has happened, I've now been able to be on multiple TV shows across the country. And there's been no hesitation about that. Whereas prior, there was so much emphasis on, well, only if you're in our community and if we can fit you in while you're there in person. And so it's been really great to be able to have that much of a greater reach.
Right. I love it. All right, Rick, you're the one that signed up for 4 years. So
right. So I'll take a spin off kind of what everybody has said here. As in the business that I am in, I could not be more proud of the PGA Tour and the way we have handled this coming back to play, I guess would be the right terminology, and all the hours it's gone on in Florida at headquarters to all of our individual events. Ironically, we are required or were required by the Kansas City, Missouri Health Department to put together a mitigation plan for our tournament in May. And in the 11th hour and 59th minute, as we're ready to submit that to KC Mo, they come out and say, "Hey, guess what? we don't need those mitigation plans anymore. So, but we're still going to follow what we've put together, because, some of this stuff we're going away from, or we're trying to go away from, but masking and social distancing is not going away for a while. And so we feel, a lot of industries have boomed through COVID, and golf is one of them. Golf is an activity that families, individuals can get out and play. They can social distance, and we can do it in a safe environment. So for us, I think a lot of what I do is still going to be virtually, especially for the next period of time. I had a lunch with a client today. It was great to see the client and have lunch with him, but we could each save 30 minutes to an hour of our day if we're just jumping on a call and talking about what we need to accomplish, right? So some of that's not going to go away, but in the entertainment and event world that I'm in, and what we're trying to do and have those fun events and have people entertain clients face to face and build relationships and do all that type of stuff, I'm hoping that we're more on the 75-25 rather than the 50-50. But I certainly feel as an event and a golf tournament, we've prepared ourselves, and we've had to reimagine our hospitality and the things we're doing. People that play in our pro-am are going to have to test. As of now, they're going to have to test before they come play with a tour pro. So things like that, they're not going away anytime soon. So we're certainly having to reimagine the way we do our business.
I can't not ask you this. Any thoughts on Tiger Woods today?
Yeah, that's it doesn't matter kind of. I just read a tweet a second ago. It doesn't matter kind of your feelings and thoughts on Tiger. And the last thing we should be talking about is his career. It's just mainly praying for him to get healthy right now. So I think there's a lot of stuff out there, until we actually know the story, we just keep him in our thoughts and prayers, because no matter what you think about him, he certainly has been great for the game of golf and has changed the golf landscape over the last 25 years. God, that makes me feel old, but over the last lot of years. So
that does sound old.
Yeah.
Not you, me too. I'm like, I remember when he came out, right?
Right.
So, well, I'll tell you around my house, and then we'll get to one of Scott's favorite part of the show is cheesy icebreaker question. But around my house, we have a constant joke. My 8-year-old always says her grandkids are one day going to find the masks, and she's going to tell the story of when we used to have to wear those around our friends and like pockets and stuff. She'll find them everywhere, Okay, Scott. So have you thought this through? We need a good one today. This is a good panel.
Well, I haven't really thought it through, but a quick comment about people just don't realize that Tiger Woods single-handedly had the rise of golf courses that plopped up throughout America in the early 2000s that still exist today. And so I was always trying to study through the Golf Course Superintendents Association, which is a national organization that happens to be in Lawrence, Kansas. And I was trying to come up with some fancy argument why millennials weren't golfing. And then I had no idea there was such thing as the Tiger effect for golf. So, amen, Rick, of what you said. And quick question on the, everyone jokes around that, one day they'll be playing gangster rap in the nursing homes. The other day I was hosting an event at a speakeasy, and we were blasting music, and we had someone younger come in and not recognize the rap music we were playing with Salt and Pepper. And we're like, what? Let's push it. You don't know that song?
They didn't know it?
I think no, they didn't. This is like, this gentleman was like 23, but.
That's just showing our age right now.
Yeah.
It really
I think
is.
a wonderful TikTok. I'm just going to randomly tell you this, and then you can ask your icebreaker question. I saw TikTok. I'm really big on watching TikToks these days. And it was a mom, 35, 40 years old, on her way to pick up her kids. And she said, here I am, rapping about, killing my enemy and doing drugs. She's like, when I'm really going to get vegan cupcakes. But she was hardcore doing all the old school rapping. It was wonderful. Scott, I tell you all the time, you should get it on TikTok. I'm going to send it to you.
Yeah. Now that the biggest demographic on Facebook is over 65, I'm pushing that way because that's my jam. But we've had a lot of really good icebreakers. One I would encourage people to use is a technology tool that you've utilized that you can't live without the last year. But this is not one of those shows. We've talked plenty of business. I want to know, Aaron's heard this before, but I want to know whether it was middle school or high school, what was the location you remember of a date? Preferably a restaurant, if you can remember it, but where was the location, Shelli, of your first date that you can remember?
So I remember elementary school, a boy took me to Oceans of Fun.
Woo-hoo.
I know.
And then
how did he get you there?
Hot summer day. Well, his mom took us. But like that's the first date I remember. I do remember going to a homecoming dance though my freshman year, and the date we went with another couple, and the date was wearing the exact same dress I was. And we were friends and didn't know it. And we went to Hula Hands that used to be on at 95th and Quivira.
There you go.
I go there every weekend. It's just
a great
it used to be across the street though, and I think there's like a McDonald's there now.
They have the best Long Island's.
Interesting. So, Kristan, what
they're
was
huge. They're this big in a cup.
Huge.
You should try it out.
Sad that I want to go there now. Yeah. Kristan, what location that you can remember first date?
Gosh, that's hard. I feel so old.
Wait till you get to me.
So because I'm from a small town, one of them that I can remember is it's a little place called Bogey's in Salina, and it's like a shake, like an ice cream, like and burger, greasy burger joint that's just a small little local to Salina joint that I still take my kids there when we go back home.
I love it. Shannon, first date that you can remember?
Well, oh golly. Can we go with first kiss? Because this is a great story.
Oh my gosh, this is what it pivoted to last time.
I will never forget my first kiss. It was in the 7th grade on March 1st. With Jonathan Brunson outside of the school. We both played viola next to each other in the orchestra, not violin, viola, and he was in 8th grade and I was in 7th grade, and I had the biggest crush on him. And so right before we were about to get on the buses, I kissed him and I ran onto my bus. And I only remember March 1st because that's his birthday.
Oh, that's awesome.
When's the last time you talked to him?
You know, honestly, we've actually talked here within the last year during this pandemic. We had a great conversation. So, was it about violas? No, I think we've both moved on from that phase of our lives. Although I do still have my viola.
How about you, Rick?
Wow. I'm going to build on the Salina story in a small town and we're talking McDonald's, A&W, Maid-Rite, and Pizza Hut. So, I mean, where are you, what do you have to choose from? So I'm going to go to the getting dropped off and trying to get there early enough at the local movie theater in town so you can be the ones to get in the back row of the movie theater. So that was probably around 7th grade. And yes, I still know that individual. I am friends with her on social media, and I'll stop at that. How about that?
It's awesome. Well, Aaron, as you're talking about your first date, you want to mention some of our guests that are great listeners that are commenting.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to tell Kristan, we have a place like that. I went to Gardner, and so Blazer's restaurant, kind of same place. My first date was Applebee's. It's still my favorite restaurant. I'm so cheesy. I like it. It's like Applebee's, and then Hula Hands is right under there. I'm a really cheap date, turns out. Letitia says reimagine is a great word that somebody, I think that was you. Who was that? Somebody earlier used that. But
I think it was used a couple times.
John has my favorite comment of a few months. He said, "What's up, DWL Nation? What a great group of leaders today." So apparently,
John's gonna love that you called that his favorite comment. He's gonna love that. He's a great guest.
Where was your first date, Scott?
Well, I'm gonna go since Julie's walking down the stairs right now. It was we decided we were going to be dating each other. We're like in our 20s, and she was like, "Don't we need to go on a date?" And so I was like, "No, I don't, not really." And so we went on a date on a Monday, and we went with her gift card to Chili's. So it wasn't even the money that I used. It was the money we used for a gift card. But they had the complimentary chips and salsa, I think.
What a
The rest is
lucky
history.
lady. What a lucky lady that Julie is. I just feel like I should send Julie flowers sometimes. Like
A lot of people feel that way. I know.
Well, we want to thank you so much for joining us today. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching and commenting. You can connect with all of these great panelists right here on the post. They are all on LinkedIn. They are all tagged on our post. So go connect with them. See how you can, if they're doing virtual coffees or lunches or just however you guys can help each other out. Networking has been the secret to this past year. So remember, also sign up for the Bank of Blue Valley. We're going to put their link there for their, I'm having a hard time talking. Succession planning. Succession is a hard word for me. I had to look at it. So succession planning. I'm going to be there. I'm excited to see you there. And we will see you next week. Same day, same Tuesday at 3:00. I got to get in the sun. We'll see you later. Bye.